Welcome to the Early Years Roundtable, hosted by Realise. I'm Laura Hodges, the Early Years expert here.
Hi, I'm Evie, a leadership coach.
I'm Cathy Agozzino. I'm the Learner and Apprentice Coordinator at Grandir UK.
I'm Lianna, Capuano, a Level 3 Early Years Educator.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited for us to have some conversations about leading with strength rather than overwhelm, because we know that the early years industry is full of hustle and bustle, lots of responsibility, lots of overwhelm at times. And I really want to make sure that we don't lose our why and the joy as to what made us begin our journey here. So I thought we could maybe start about talking through some of the things that we do to manage overwhelm and maybe identify some of the things that bring overwhelm. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds excellent.
Yeah.
Sounds really good. We've been having a conversation all the way down actually today about working in early years, haven't we, Lianna, and how it can be overwhelming, but actually when you're working with small children, there's so much joy and wonder and awe in every moment, and that actually with small children, they don't judge you.
Yeah.
Whereas as adults, we get that feeling of being judged, whereas what's wonderful about working in this sector is there's no judgment at all. So we can be dinosaurs and we can be parrots and nobody's looking at you saying, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So, it's been a fab conversation to have all the way down here today. So it's lovely to be talking like this now.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? You know, it's good to have those conversations and remember the awe and wonder that we can offer to those children. I'm going to come over to you, Lianna, because I know that you've been spending some time studying with Realise.
I have, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So it's been really amazing studying with Realise, and I've learnt so much from doing different activities with the children and just learning about the EYFS in general. However, I've also learned a lot about how I can apply it to my practice, because starting from a background of no experience of early years, you're just expected to know. When you're an apprentice, other staff members just expect you to know things and how to do things, but actually, you're learning yourself. So you're just taking every moment, as I said, to you on the journey here. I was quite a shy person to begin with, but that's just because I'm taking a step back and trying to look at how everyone works, because it's so fast paced. So that I'd get members of staff coming up to me saying, "Oh, you're so quiet. Come out of your shell a little bit more." I was like, "No, but I'm just looking. I'm just observing how you're doing things." And then through my level 3, I've really built up confidence through how I can apply my learning to my practice and even conducting research myself, doing things. So,
Amazing.
Really good.
And how have you managed that workload? Because for me, the thought of going back to study now, I kind of feel like I've done my time studies. But, oh my goodness, there's so much to think about.
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know how I did it. Even from going from level 2 onto level 3, I'm like, how can I start another level? I'm going to have to study again. But actually, no, I did it before. Why can't I do it again now? And as you get into doing it, you find those times, those little moments throughout the day where you're like, actually, I can use this as a learning curve, or just having that confidence to do something a little bit wrong and then learn from it. It's just... it's a really lovely process to go through, and I spend some of my evenings as well doing just typing up a little bit here and there of what I like to do and research about, and Realise gives you that really big flexibility on taking ownership of your own learning, because there's so many things that I'm interested in. Once I know something about one topic, I like to fixate on it and go and do my own research on it and see how it applies in the nursery. I done an experiment with boys and how they're kind of wired differently, their brains and their cognitive development is all so different to girls, and it just really put into practice on how their behaviour is so different. So that came from, why is this boy not listening to me? And the girl's sitting perfectly and doing everything. This boy just wants to climb up tables and do stuff, and he's not supposed to be doing. But
I can hear so many strengths coming through in that conversation. And it's those magical moments where you're actually owning some of those talents of yours and you're really putting them into practice.
And I would never say that I've completely finished my learning, because there's so much more to learn. So,
I think that's a really nice sentence. Never finished a learning. There's always learning to be done, right? There's always something we could polish up or dig deeper in to find out a little bit more. And I think it's really important to focus on those strengths, like you mentioned, Evie. What is it that we do really well? You know, early years comes with a whole heap of tasks and responsibilities. Some we choose to take on and some are just part of that job. So focusing and honing in on what we do really well helps us succeed and helps manage that feeling of overwhelm. Cathy, how do you manage it with the group of apprentices that you look after?
I think it's a lot of it is passion. If you're passionate about something, it doesn't feel overwhelming, or if it does get overwhelming, it's overwhelming in a good way. I think I'm very, very lucky that I work for a company that really supports us as employees, and I've been given the autonomy to do what I think will help our apprentices. And obviously something's working because we've got fabulous apprentices like Lianna that have got all this thirst for knowledge and wanting to study further. I mean, Lianna's introduced herself as level 3, but we're about to enrol Lianna onto level 5. So, you know, how wonderful is that? So I think there is an overwhelm there, and I think it's easy to get caught up in the chat about a negative overwhelm in our sector. And I wonder sometimes whether our sector has got a little bit caught up in that, and not just our sector, people outside of our sector, early years, whereas actually going back to what I said earlier about there's so much joy and wonder, and there's so many wonderful people that work in the sector, that how can it not be a lovely thing to do? And I think your strengths come out naturally when you're enjoying and you're passionate about what you do. So I've been incredibly lucky.
Just pulling on that, your strengths come out naturally when you're enjoying what you do. Well, children learn through play. Absolutely. We have to have them engaged in order for them to thrive, and we want them to thrive, right? We want our children to leave having the best possible experience with us to get the best possible start in life. I'm going to come over to you now, Evie, when we're talking strengths. Tell us a little bit about why pulling on your strengths and really enhancing those talents is going to be of a benefit.
Well, I think both Lianna and Cathy already mentioned that actually when you're passionate and you know what your purpose is and you're following your focus and your interest, that's where your natural motivation is, and that comes from your internal drivers and your talents, and that's where your potential is. And if you harness that potential, you can actually enhance your performance and your productivity. And you're right, Cathy, I think in early years, sometimes we wear the overwhelm and the burnout as a badge of honor. But actually, we don't have to be in this firefighting, reactive mode. We need to switch over into leaning into what our talents and strengths are, actually getting language around that. Because in order to appreciate and value each other, we can really shine a light on what those specific qualities are in individuals. And we're so different that it takes a little bit of a different nurturing environment for each of us.
Yeah.
I mean, I love pot plants. I buy them. They're beautiful. I kill them straight away. Not one has survived. I'm about to take the last one out. But that's because I know nothing about plants and what they need and what I ought to be doing to nurture and grow and top that up. And that's like our teams. We really need to know a little bit more individualistically what makes them tick. What are their talents? What are their potentials? How can I feed them, top them up? Because not only are we facing overwhelm in an industry, we're facing a recruitment and retention crisis. So how can we really top up those teams with the exact ingredients and environment that they need to flourish?
I can't help but reflect and look at my team as a whole collective of pot plants.
Take that away with you today.
Ones that survive.
Because I name all my plants. So we've got Vera, the aloe vera in the corner. Anyway, we digress. But I understand what you're saying. Actually, let's dive into those individual needs and individual talents and skills. And I'm sure you see that coming across all your nurseries. How do you manage to kind of really harness those strengths of the individual learners that you've got?
So I think we've got some wonderful managers that really recognise where the potential is in their set of apprentices, and also their staff members that support those apprentices as well. And I think that once the recognition is there, they then work on what things they are really enjoying to then further that. And it's like it becomes like a thirst then for wanting to do more. I mean, taking Lianna, for example, Lianna's had such a wonderful sort of mentorship system, haven't you, within Walnut Tree, the nursery that she works in, that it's just kept her going. And I mean, she goes above and beyond. And I think it's getting the right team around that individual as well to motivate them to want to go above and beyond, to want to do, studying in their own time. Because, I mean, a lot of people are sort of like, oh, gosh, I've been at work all day. Why would I want to come home and do more? But if you've injected that motivation during the working day and given that support, seen, valued and recognised them, then would you say it comes, you just want to do it, don't you,
it just
Lianna?
comes so naturally. Like, I just remember spending a day in the baby room, and there's this thing called elimination communication, and it's basically potty training for babies. And I was like, what on earth is this? So I wouldn't even imagine myself going home and then researching it whilst watching telly, and just being like, okay, I found this random thing out throughout the day. Let me just research it on my phone, had a quick look up on it, and then all of a sudden making up this whole poster about it and then distributing it to the baby staff. Like, it's crazy. Like, I've never known anything like that, seen myself doing that before. But because I enjoy it, it's no like skin off my nose. Like,
that's wonderful. It's lifelong, isn't it, learning?
Yeah.
And it's about finding the right style and the right approach for the individual. Going back to your point, you mentioned about using the correct language, Evie. What can we do, or what wisdom can you impart on us around using positive language around overwhelm and management? Because it's just shifting the mindset, isn't it? Overcoming challenge and seeing possibility. How can we do that more?
Yeah, I think there's a slight shift between being reactive and being responsive. So that example that Lianna just gave us was just gold in how to be really responsive to the moment. And I think us as leaders have a real responsibility to pause and take a breath and notice what's happening around us. And Cathy, you said you've got a brilliant team of managers who know how to recognize, value and appreciate their teams. And that's, that's where the magic is if we can find real language around how we're appreciating and noticing the qualities of our team members. Not only does it top them up, but it tops up us up as well. And so by being really specific, like we are with children, we don't just say that's a really good painting or that's a really good tower. We really hone in on their skills and some of those attributes that we notice, the persistence, the concentration, the focus, and, that thrive for learning that Lianna's mentioned. And when we actually use that kind of appreciation language, we don't actually need a budget for it, because sometimes we think some of the appreciation we need for teams needs to come from some huge spending budget, but actually putting it into language that builds you up is so important. And we do that effortlessly for children. And sometimes we forget to do that for ourselves.
I think that's a really important point to make there. We often look at recognition as financial. Now, we've come into early years. We're not going to be millionaires, really, are we? It's the job we do because we love it and we're passionate. And I'm sure when you do staff surveys, the private jet and the salary increase will always be there. But actually, from some of the work that I've done in the past, and I'm sure Evie, you might be able to extend for me, is to have somebody contribute and invested in, they have to feel like they're recognised and they're valued. And you can't really put a price on that. It's actually, Lianna, thank you so much for the time you've taken to share your knowledge. It's been really valuable. You can't really put a price on those items. But when you bring that into the team and you see their appreciation for you, you think, this is it. This is why I'm here. This is why I want to be part of this team. So it's about making sure we can find other ways of recognising our staff, and that will support the retention that you were talking about, right?
Yeah, and particularly when we think about the value of feedback and and the term I like to use is feed forward, because once you highlight something that somebody has really done well, or an opportunity that they can build on, and you give them a future focus for that, that automatically instigates that motivation to want to succeed again. And so you start to exercise that muscle in that individual, and you start to build on that talent so that it becomes a strength for them, and then that natural motivation is derived, and it energizes rather than depletes you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to feel energized, right? Think about some of the learners that you come across. They've had a long, hard day. Come on, guys, we've got to get some work done. How do you get them energized, Cathy? I've heard great things about your workshops.
So I run apprentice cluster meetings where I get the apprentices together to basically do some fun things. So take them out of their every day, but do things like team building exercises where they get to meet people that are from other nurseries, but they get to network with each other essentially, and then they get to have a little bit of fun. So they're away from their day-to-day, they're learning from each other, they're sharing experiences, they're sharing about their challenges as well. But it's a really magical thing that happens in the meetings, because they come in sort of a little bit like Lianna was saying, a little bit quiet, a little bit nervous, a little bit like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing here. By the time I've got them blowing up balloons and building towers and talking about buses and modes of transport, we do all sorts of weird and wacky things that are completely off the wall, but they get excited about it and they get motivated by it, and I think that they go away with a feeling of, actually, I've had a really great day today, but I've learned something, because we link it all into what skills did you use to do that? You're talking about your communication skills, your thinking outside the box skills. So we link it all back in, but it's a little bit like when we talk about children learning through play. Yeah. It's exactly what we do. We're learning through play, but as adults, and that's what I'm trying to foster within our apprenticeship journey at Grandir UK, is a learning through play environment where none of us judge each other. So exactly going back to what we do with the children, doing what we do with the apprentices.
And that's it. We're in a vocational industry. We're doers. We like to get involved. You know, I've met hundreds of practitioners, and there's always one that wants to touch the thing they can't touch and, you know, pick up the resource that they see along the way, because we just want to be involved, right? We want to be in the moment with those children exploring. We've had some great discussions so far. What I'm wondering now is, how can we use some of this information to really help shape a culture of overcoming the challenge, finding that positive mindset, seeing it as opportunity, and really kind of embracing the possible? What do you think?
Well, I love what Cathy said about the community that she's building amongst the apprentices, because actually not all of us are good at everything or the same thing. So that community that you're building for your teams is so valuable, because we don't have to be good at the same things, but actually highlighting strengths in individuals. We know we can blend our talents together. We might be able to buddy up with somebody who could help us. We could even barter. You're good at that, so you do that and I'll take this off of you. Or we can learn to let go. We can bin the stuff that isn't important and doesn't add value or that depletes us. So it's about being really choiceful in some of these interactions that we have in the community.
I think that's a really interesting point. It's good to have different strengths and really kind of have a vast skill set amongst the people that you're working with. And I wonder what your thoughts are on when pressures get high and the tension hits. You know, it might be a day where we've had to deal with sickness, or we've had, you know, sickness with the children, and that's caused a bit of a, you know, a tsunami across a room perhaps. You know, in those high pressure moments, what kind of things can we do together to overcome them?
I would say probably take a step back and look at what's actually happening. Yeah. Because I've had moments throughout the day when I feel like loads of stuff is going on. However, if I'm actually taking a step back and looking at what the children are doing across the room, okay, they're in the role play area, they're playing really nicely there. There's another section of children in the art area. Okay, yeah, they're making a mess, but it's fine. And then the children are just happy playing as they are. So it's looking at that and thinking, okay, now I need to calm and now relax my mind, because if my mind is constantly going, then I'm physically not sitting still or paying attention to the children. So it's that taking that step back and actually relaxing, like resetting, as you said, was really good for you. Important. And then just reflecting that back onto the children, even through if it's just watching them or observing them through what they're doing in their day, and just calming yourself down.
Resetting is a good word, isn't it? Resetting. You're nodding along there, Cathy.
Yeah, I think it's also, you know, if you are in a situation like that, perhaps acknowledging it with each other.
Yeah,
like,
definitely, we do that all the time.
Okay, it's a tough day today. Should we finding maybe a humour in a situation, and, you know, something's gone incredibly wrong, but actually, oh gosh, what else can happen, sort of thing. And I think that shared, going back to that community again, that supporting, I think that is so important for dealing with an overwhelming situation. I know in my job, I've got an incredible team around me, so when it's feeling a little bit overwhelming, like I said earlier, I can turn it into a good overwhelm, because I can pick up the phone to my colleague Gemma at Realise or anybody in my team within the company and share my experiences, and they'll say, do you know what, I'm having that kind of a day too as well. And then it doesn't feel as heavy, as bad. It's what is it, a problem shared? Is it a problem halved?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was thinking of leaning into what you were sharing there, Evie, utilising different strengths, bartering a little bit. I quite like that. You know, I'm naturally quite a happy-go-lucky kind of person. Everybody comes together. It's all fun and unicorns and glitter in my world. But sometimes when I'm overwhelmed, I need to lean into somebody who's really strategic to help me organise my thoughts and get myself back on track. And that's something I learned through my educational journey, through studies as well. How can I organise myself to get the best version of me?
And, you know, exactly that, what Lianna was saying, I think so wise for somebody, so hold on to her.
Oh yeah, we are going to.
But yeah, you know, taking a moment to be present and notice, because when we do that, we can actually make our calm contagious. And just like anxiety and fear can be contagious, our calm is the antidote to that. And when we are calm, we start to appreciate the potential that we have in the collective team. And like you said, that's when we identify who's got a different strength, who might be strategic, who might be good at problem solving. Let's pull out that restorative strength. Who's really good at focus, because that's what we need in this crisis. And then actually being able to take that step back and pull on those teams, like you said, that network around you, and drawing on all of your resources. Because our power is in that pause.
Absolutely. We've covered quite a variety, get my words out, a variety of things that we can do as adults. What impact does this have on our children and their experience in our nurseries?
I think it's the role modelling, isn't it? If we're role modelling that kind of behaviour, then that's only going to be a positive thing, right? I mean, Lianna, you can probably speak. You've got direct experience of this, haven't you?
Something that I've implemented into the nursery is noticing when a staff member is about to break down and then is just like on the edge, and we take us and always say to them, do you need like a little 5 minutes? And then they'll go and have 5 minutes. They'll come back completely fresh. So it's lovely to see that. And then we have this thing as well when we're feeling a little bit stressed or anxious, and we go to ourselves and our colleagues, we go calm and doing the hand movements as well, and the children pick up on it. So whenever they're getting a little bit overwhelmed or a little bit frustrated, they'll say calm.
I love that. I'm going to take that away with me today.
Yeah, and see, I've learnt that through my team members. So my room leader, she's absolutely amazing, and she's done a lot of work on challenging behaviour and using the sign for the emotions to really help them.
And I think that brings us back to the practical element of how most early years work. I don't want to generalise for everybody, but I know for myself, I'm a real practical learner. So actually making that movement of calm really helps me ground almost.
Yeah.
It's one of those techniques, isn't it? You know, bringing yourself back. Guys, it's been wonderful chatting today. Thank you so much for joining me. We really could chat all day long, but we are almost out of time. So I just want to say thank you for joining me here at Realise today. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.